This is my 1992 Suzuki Cappuccino. We were going to drive it today, but it's broken. Jesus, you mother. Oh, plastic spider. This isn't my first K car, and it's also not my first convertible. Had a few MX-5s and K cars, so we decided to combine the two. This one kind of fell into my lap a little bit. We were filming Moogs 240 and a customer of ours emailed us to say they had the car, and I was pretty keen on it at the time, and after a couple of days worked out how to get it and went and picked it up and got it registered, and the rest is history. It's a rear-wheel drive, turbo, manual, K car that's also a sports coupe. Think of a scaled down MX-5. Let's try and work out what's actually wrong with it. It's been running a little bit rough for a while, and progressively it gets rougher and rougher on cold starts. Now, it's winter here at the moment, so it's pretty cold, so I thought it may be relating to the air temperature, but as it turns out, it's progressively worse and worse and worse, and now it's actually starting to warm up a bit. It's still really bad, to the point now where I started it the other day and it was running on 2 cylinders. After driving for 5 or 10 minutes, it didn't clear. It's gotten worse and worse now to the point where it doesn't run at all. We're going to give it a quick crank to show you guys what it's actually doing right now. Then we'll probably pull the plugs out of it, do a quick compression test, and depending on what the compression test shows, we'll go from there. To carry out the compression test, there's only basic tools required. So we've got a 3/8 ratchet, a spark plug socket, 3/8 extension, and a compression testing kit. First you need to locate your spark plugs, then remove them. Once you've got them out of the way, get your compression tester in there. The other thing to remember when doing compression tests is to make sure you do disconnect your ignition coil. We've done the first cylinder and it's come up at 160 PSI. Now, being that this is a dead cold engine, I'd say that's quite a good result. So far we're on the right track, and potentially we do have a healthy engine and a different problem. So we'll do the back 2 cylinders and we'll see what results we get from there, and we'll make more of an assessment. That's the compression coming out the other spark plug. So it didn't really go to plan. We've got a pretty conclusive result. The compression on this second cylinder is only 30 PSI, which shows a pretty massive leak. What's even more of an indication is that chuffing sound from that second crank is actually compression coming out the third cylinder spark plug. So what we may find now is if we put a plug back in the third cylinder, it may be a little bit quieter. It may also bring the compression up. So what I want to do now is put a plug back in the third cylinder, and then we'll see what result we get there. We've now refitted the spark plug to the third cylinder. We're going to retest cylinder 2. We've zeroed the gauge again just to make sure that we get a more accurate reading. It doesn't pump the gauge up. So we'll crank it and we'll see what it comes back with. We've just retested cylinder number 2. It's still come back really low. We're only at this test now, we're only at 20 PSI. That to me says we've got major internal problems. So I think the best course of action is going to be to get the spare engine I've got off the shelf. We'll give that a service, put a new head gasket in it, service the top end, and then at a later episode, we'll fit that engine and we'll see how it goes. Previously, we've done a compression test. We already know that cylinders 2 and 3 are down on compression substantially over cylinder 1. So today we're going to pull the engine out, pull the head off, and try and work out why it's down on compression. This is the clutch cable for the Cappuccino, but it's been repaired using balustrating cable adjustment parts. And normally I would, actually, the whole cable looks like it's the balustrating stainless cable.
What, off like, where do people usually use it?
You'd normally see it like in industrial housing. They'd put cabling in like patio rails and stuff like that. Shit. So that is the adjustment fitting for patio railing cabling. But in this application, it's now clutch cable adjustment. Funnily enough, we actually used balustrating fittings when we did the Cresta handbrake cables as well. So a few people with the same ideas. Some people wouldn't agree with it, but in our application, it got the job done. And I haven't had any problem with the clutch on this, so obviously it's getting the job done here too. Pretty obvious to see what's gone wrong. That's a gap between cylinder 2 and 3. So our compression test showed very low compression on 2 and 3. That's the reason why. Compression was actually going between the cylinders through that gap. Having a look at this gasket, I don't believe this is actually the original one. The gasket we're going to use is an aftermarket multi-layer steel gasket, so that'll completely alleviate this failure in the future, and it will also mean more boost later on. Thanks for watching the latest in our Cappuccino series. To keep up to date with what we're up to, check out our socials for behind the scenes content. We'll catch you later.